11 years, and there hasn't been much change in the last 4 years on my Pacific prosthetic leg. We've obviously worked a lot with the alignment, but where I see it being so interesting with the technology that's being used is as you saw in the first clip I showed you, the introduction clip. There are a lot of people out there in the world that don't have the resources to prosthetic legs, and also don't have the kind of like the rehabilitation that we offered in order to use them. And I think that people like that have lost their legs in landmines or in defects or in accidents, it's to them that in the future, when this technology is going to become more accessible, it's going to benefit the use of many people in the world that are going to be able to live far better lives than what they're living now. I can just take this disc out. You guys are going to have to give me a while because technology is my inclination at the moment. This was the race that we ran about 4 weeks ago in China, and for me it was an amazing experience. It was a lot more pressure than we had in Athens. Obviously in Athens I was not well known at all, so I didn't have any pressure on me to perform. But coming into China, we had a lot more expectations, but also was overwhelming. And I think the experience that I had, I thought I'd learned a lot in Athens, but in China it was a lot of the sense that I had to take a lot of the information that I'd gathered in the last couple of years in running and apply it to this. But when I can still say, although a lot of work has been done with prosthetic legs in the past, with passive prosthetic legs and the legs that we run with, a lot can still be done. And if you compare an amputee athlete to an able-bodied athlete, the biggest disadvantage is in the start of the race, where the ankle joint obviously isn't present on the prosthetic leg. This is a race that we ran 4 weeks ago, and it's when I watch this race, I had an awful start. It kind of makes me very nervous, and I can definitely feel my heartbeat, but I'd like to share it with you today.
It's better that you click again. Il pubblico era esattamente come quello delle Olimpiadi dei normodotati.
Without the use of technology, this would never have been possible. I think for amputees, we wouldn't even be able to walk, as we said earlier. And I think that with the technology that's been present in the last 15, 20 years of allowing amputees to go about their daily commitments and their daily needs, I'm really looking forward to the next 15 or 20 years to see what's coming and what Professor Hu He has been talking about this morning. So thank you very much for supporting us this morning and being here and sharing with us in the technology that has to offer not only the world of sprinting, but also in the daily lives of people living with disabilities in order to make them live normal lives in the future. Thank you.
Quello che è molto interessante nella sua vita è prima di tutto una cosa importante che ho imparato a conoscere di lui proprio mentre scrivevamo questo libro, che lui non si è mai sentito diverso, perché la sua famiglia l'ha aiutato a crescere esattamente come i suoi fratelli. Cioè non ha mai avvertito, probabilmente adesso lui è molto curioso, dopo aver sentito il dottor Hare, perché se un giorno potrà avvertire cosa significa sentire il terreno sotto i piedi, per lui sarà una nuova scoperta, qualcosa di incredibile, e sono sicuro che quando saranno pronte queste protesi che potranno far sentire la sensibilità, lui sarà uno dei primi a volerle provare. E poi in questo libro scoprirete che proprio Oscar da ragazzino era un giamburrasca, era un ragazzino molto vivace. E magari ora gli chiederei di raccontare un fatto della sua vita, quando usarono la sua sorellina come cavia.
When I was growing up, we had a huge open property on a farmland, and my friend and I had my best friend, him and I used to get up to so much mischief on the weekends. But the one weekend we decided to build a tree house. And we got the wood, we ended up finding wood and ended up having to go buy some, and we decided we're going to build this huge tree house in a massive tree in the garden. So him and I went off on our trip, and we went to go find this tree that was going to be the new home of him and I, and we found a very huge jacaranda tree in the garden, and we ended up starting to plan our tree house, and him and I climbed it, and we ended up setting planks for a ladder, and after about 3 or 4 days we'd made this beautiful platform. It was a couple of meters, maybe 2 by 2 meters, and after a couple more days we'd made a bigger platform which was even less skew than the first one. And after about 6 or 7 days, we'd had quite an impressive tree house for 2 young kids that we'd built. But we decided that something was missing. And we ended up getting a cable, 50-meter long cable, and we wanted to make a fufi slide, like a slide out of the tree house onto the ground. But the tree was probably about 5 meters above the ground from where we wanted to jump off. And we had to tie the cable to a tree, so we couldn't find a tree, or we were too weak, we were too small to pull the cable tight, so we ended up tying it around the tow bar of the car, and we let the car go down the hill, my father's pickup bakkie. And my friend and I climbed in the treehouse, and as we were about to go down the slide, him and I, we didn't have enough guts to go down. And my little...
Yeah, but you have to tell that it was forbidden for women.
It was. It was forbidden for any women to come into our treehouse. I think we were about 10 years old at the time, and there was a couple of rules in the treehouse, but the one was that no girls were allowed in. And my sister, throughout the couple of days that we'd spent building, she'd come to the bottom of the tree and ask if we needed help with anything, or ask, if she can be a part of it. And I mean, being a 10-year-old, we said absolutely not, But now, as we were standing up about to test this treehouse, we immediately both thought of each other, and we, I said to my friend, it's okay, you can be the first one to go down. We were both very scared of falling. And he said, no, it's okay, you can go down first. So we kind of looked at each other for a while, and we decided that, even our rules, with our rule book that we'd made for this treehouse, it was okay to make an exception. So we called my little sister, and she climbed up, and we asked her if she wanted to go down. And obviously she was extremely happy. It's the first time that we've included her in this plan. And just to make sure that she didn't get hurt, we tied a rope around her wrists, around her hands, and we tied the rope to the pulley that she was going to slide down. And she was ready, and she was kind of standing there, and she was a bit scared to go. So my friend pushed her, and she went sliding down this about 5 meters off the ground, down this slide. And after about 10 meters, it hooked, and she actually let go, but she was hanging by the rope like this from the tree, from this thing swinging, and she was probably about 3-4 meters in the air at the stage. But needless to say, we were very happy that neither him or I decided to go first, because he would have definitely fallen out of the sky. It took us about 2-3 minutes to get her down, and she didn't ever want anything to do with us ever again after that.
Quindi potete immaginare la sua completa normalità, aveva solo 10 anni, e si arrampicava sull'albero con le protesi, quindi non ha mai sentito questa differenza. Allora giocava a rugby, faceva di tutto, e odiava anche l'atletica. L'atletica, che adesso l'ha reso famoso, era lo sport che lui odiava di più. perché lui era arrivato al punto di falsificare la firma della madre per l'esenzione dalle gare di atletica. Lo beccavano sempre, poi perché se ne accorgevano. Comunque questa è la vera storia di Pistorius, che dall'odio dell'atletica, odio adesso è passato all'amore, alla passione per l'atletica, e grazie a questo siamo arrivati a questo punto. Poi c'è un altro fatto molto importante che lui vi può ricordare. Una volta è stato anche arrestato. Sì, arrestato.
It's not as bad as it sounds, I promise you. Obviously, with having prosthetic legs, we've got a big problem with security at airports, and you go through the metal detectors, and the thing always beeps. And no matter how many times, sometimes you go to a country where they don't speak your language, and you try to explain to them, you have a prosthetic leg, and they'll send you back, and they'll make you take your belt off, and then you go through again, and it beeps, and they send you back, and they make you take your watch off, and after about the 13th or 14th time, sometimes you just have to pull up your pants and show them that you haven't got legs. That's what's beeping. But it was about 2 years ago I went to World Championships in Assen in the Netherlands to go run. And I'd probably about 2 days before that been on a hunting trip in South Africa. And what I hadn't remembered is when I was sitting, obviously having prosthetic legs, we don't have to wash them every day like you guys do. We wash them maybe once every 2-3 weeks. So I was hunting in the bush, and I think what happened was some of the residue from the bullets got sprayed onto my leg. But I didn't notice, we were shooting, and I kind of didn't think anything of it. And 2 days later, I went on this athletics tour. So I get to the airport in Amsterdam, and I walk through the metal detector, and it beeps, and the guy searches me. And about 2-3 minutes later, another guy comes with a swab, like to check for explosives and for drugs, narcotics. And he swipes my prosthetic leg, and it's happened a couple of times before, so I didn't think much of it. And I'm standing around, start packing my laptop back into my bag, and get my stuff ready so that when he comes back and he tells me it's okay, I can leave. And about 10 minutes pass, and this guy comes up to me with 2 massive security guards, and he pushes my head against the wall, and the other guy handcuffs me, and in the middle of the airport, but it didn't help me, I actually looked pretty much like a convict. I had a big black jacket on, dark sunglasses, a dark cap. So, and to cut a long story short, they ended up putting me in a cell at the airport for a couple of hours. I missed my flight in the end. But then when they finally discovered that, they took my prosthetic legs away from me, they put them through machines to scan them. I think they thought that I was carrying an explosive in my prosthetic leg. But after a couple of hours, they came to me and they said to me, "No, it's okay, you're free to go." But I promise you, it was probably one of the most nerve-wracking things. And even now, when I go through the security control at the airport, if that guy comes to me with a swab, I just kind of tell him, I have got prosthetic legs, and if I'd ever do go shooting, I make sure I've wiped them down immediately afterwards.
Perché è stata un'altra esperienza della sua vita molto interessante. Ma io penso che a questo punto, se voi siete d'accordo e se gli organizzatori sono d'accordo, darei la parola a voi, se avete qualche domanda per Oscar, perché questo penso che sia la cosa migliore per conoscerlo, o anche per il dottor Herr, se avete qualche domanda, perché questo deve essere qualcosa di strettamente umano. Abbiamo dei microfoni a gelato oppure facciamo venire le persone qui a... Allora, alzi la mano chi... C'è già un volontario, eccolo là. Adesso arrivano i microfoni, un attimo solo. Ma come vi sta sembrando questo incontro con Oscar? Ve l'avevo detto che era una situazione molto umana, molto, molto piacevole da ascoltare, anche perché lui è anche molto bravo nel parlare, nello spiegare, nel raccontare. Arriva mentre aspettiamo, casomai. Eccolo là, vai. Ecco, perfetto, c'è.
Volevo sapere che cosa hai provato quando sei arrivato al traguardo dei 200 metri per pochissimo così, che tutti aspettavano te.
I think I think any race is extremely nerve-wracking as you line